I knew it was coming the moment David Morgan strutted into the office that morning, his expensive Italian shoes clicking against the hardwood floors like a countdown. 6 months as my manager, and he'd been gunning for me since day one. Not because I was bad at my job. No, quite the opposite. He was threatened because I was too good at it. Sarah, my office. Now. His voice carried across the open-plan workspace, deliberately loud enough for everyone to hear. Classic power play. I caught Jessica from accounting giving me a sympathetic look as I stood up, smoothing my charcoal pencil skirt. I'd spent the last 3 months preparing for this moment, ever since I overheard him in the break room. We need younger blood, fresh perspectives. These legacy employees are deadweight. Legacy employee. That's what he called anyone who'd been at Meridian Technologies longer than him. Anyone who remembered when the company actually innovated instead of just chasing quarterly profits. His office was all glass and chrome, trying too hard to look Silicon Valley in our decidedly East Coast firm. He didn't offer me a seat. Another power play. Sarah, he began, adjusting his Rolex. New, probably bought with the bonus he'd gotten for cutting department costs. We need to discuss your performance. I kept my face neutral, of course. He pulled out a folder, thick with papers I knew he'd never actually read. Your productivity metrics are concerning. Project completion rates below target. Excessive time spent on non-priority tasks. He looked up, smirking. Care to explain? I could have explained. Could have told him about the hundreds of hours I'd spent quietly fixing the catastrophic errors his innovative new system had created. Could have mentioned how our biggest client, Anderson Global, had been on the verge of walking away until I started working behind the scenes to salvage the relationship. Instead, I simply said, I believe my work speaks for itself. His smirk widened. Yes, it does. And that's why, effective immediately, we're terminating your employment. Right on schedule. Pack your things, he continued, clearly enjoying himself. Your performance isn't up to our standards. Security will escort you out. I stood there, calm and collected, as he reached for his phone to call security. That's when both our computers chimed simultaneously. New email. From Michael Harrison, CEO. Subject: URGENT. Project Phoenix Success Priority. Hi. David's face froze mid-smirk as he read the first line. I didn't need to see his screen. I had the email memorized. Attention all staff. It is my great pleasure to announce the successful completion of Project Phoenix, a confidential initiative that has not only saved our relationship with Anderson Global, but has expanded it into a $40 million multi-year contract. Special recognition goes to Sarah Mitchell, whose innovative solutions and tireless dedication over the past 3 months have transformed a potential crisis into our biggest win of the year. The board has unanimously voted to promote her to Director of Strategic Operations, effective immediately. To address the rumors. Yes, Anderson Global had planned to terminate their contract due to systematic issues with our new processing system. Sarah identified these issues months ago and, working directly with my office, developed and implemented solutions that not only fixed the problems but revolutionized our entire approach. All department heads, please join us in the main conference room at 11 a.m. for a full briefing. Best regards, Michael Harrison, CEO, Meridian Technologies. The silence in David's office was deafening. His face had gone from smug to sheet white in seconds. I don't understand. Project Phoenix? Working with the CEO? That's impossible. You've been underperforming, missing your deadlines. I corrected quietly. The ones you said after repeatedly ignoring my warnings about the system flaws. But you're right about one thing. I wasn't focusing on your priorities. I was too busy saving the company from your mistakes. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. But the metrics were exactly where they needed to be for the real work to get done. I smiled, just slightly. You see, David, while you were focused on looking good in quarterly reports, I was focused on keeping our largest client from suing us for negligence. A client, I might add, that represents 60% of your precious annual bonus. The color began returning to his face, now shifting to red. This is some kind of mistake. Harrison couldn't have. You couldn't have. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael's executive assistant. Conference room ready. Michael wants you to lead the briefing. I checked my watch. 10:55 a.m. If you'll excuse me, I said, gathering my tablet. I have a meeting to run. Oh, and David? I paused at his door. Don't worry about having security escort me out. But you might want to update your resume. The board tends to frown on managers who try to fire the people saving their company. As I walked through the office, heads turned. Phones were buzzing everywhere as the email made its rounds. Jessica from accounting gave me a thumbs up. Mark from it nodded respectfully. And there, by the conference room door, stood Michael Harrison himself. Ready to shake things up, Director Mitchell? I smiled, a real smile this time. You have no idea. Behind me, I could hear David's expensive Italian shoes clicking frantically across the hardwood as he rushed to figure out where it had all gone wrong. But I was already walking into the conference room, my own heels clicking with purpose. After all, we had a company to run, properly this time. The faces around the conference table showed a mix of shock, admiration, and in some cases, dawning horror as they realized how badly they'd misjudged me. But that's the thing about being underestimated. It gives you the perfect cover to get things done. And I was just getting started. The conference room felt different from this side of the table. I'd sat through countless meetings here, quietly observing from the back, while managers like David took credit for other people's work. Now, standing at the head of the table beside CEO Michael Harrison, I watched those same managers squirm in their seats. Before we begin, Michael addressed the room. I want to be clear about something. Project Phoenix wasn't just about saving a client. It was a test of our systems, our leadership, and our company culture. His eyes swept the room. Some of you passed. Many of you failed. I opened my laptop, connecting it to the main screen. The first slide appeared. Anderson Global Contract Termination Notice. Draft. Several managers flinched. 3 months ago, I began. Anderson's CFO contacted me directly, not through official channels, but through a LinkedIn message. They were preparing to terminate their $100 million contract due to systematic failures in our new processing system. David, who'd slunk into the room last and taken a back seat, seemed to shrink further. What you're seeing, I continued, switching slides, is a complete analysis of the system failures. Errors that were reported, documented, and repeatedly ignored by management. Each bullet point landed like a shot. Each graph told a story of willful negligence. But that's impossible, interrupted Thomas from operations. Our quarterly reports showed all systems functioning within acceptable parameters. I smiled. Funny thing about parameters, they're only as good as the people setting them. I pulled up another slide. These are the real numbers, not the filtered data that made it to quarterly reports. The system wasn't just failing, it was actively corrupting client data. The room erupted in murmurs. I caught snippets. How did we miss this? Who approved these changes? David assured us. Ms. Mitchell. A sharp voice cut through the chaos. Victoria Pierce, our board chair, who I hadn't even noticed entering the room. Please continue. I nodded, advancing to the next slide. Project Phoenix had 3 phases. First, develop a parallel system to prevent further data corruption. Second, quietly recover and restore compromised data. Third, implement a complete overhaul of our processing architecture. Alone? Someone asked. You did all this alone? No, I said. I had help. Jessica from accounting, who stayed late every night cross-checking figures. Mark from IT, who wrote code on weekends. Junior staff who believed in doing things right instead of just doing them fast. I clicked again, and their names appeared on screen. 23 people, mostly lower-level employees, all overlooked by management. While some managers were focused on metrics and bonuses, I continued, these people were focused on saving our company. They deserve recognition and promotions. Victoria Pierce was taking notes. David was typing frantically on his phone. But the real hero of this story, I said, is sitting right there. I pointed to Raj Patel, a junior developer who looked startled at being called out. Raj identified the initial system flaw. He reported it through proper channels 7 times. Each time, he was ignored or told to stay in his lane. So he came to me. Raj sat up straighter as several heads turned his way. Which brings us to the future. I switched to the final slide. Anderson Global isn't just staying. They're tripling their contract on one condition. I paused, letting the tension build. They want a complete restructuring of our management approach. More collaboration, less hierarchy, more innovation, less politics. Michael stepped forward, which is why, effective immediately, we're announcing several changes. Sarah Mitchell is our new Director of Strategic Operations. Her first task, evaluating all current management positions. The room went very quiet. Some of you, I said, looking directly at David, will be invited to reapply for your positions. Others will be offered different roles more suited to your abilities. And some of you will be encouraged to seek opportunities elsewhere. David's phone clattered to the floor. You can't do this, he sputtered. I have contracts, agreements. Actually, Victoria Pierce spoke up. We've reviewed those agreements. Attempting to terminate an employee who's actively saving a $100 million client relationship. That's grounds for immediate dismissal. I almost felt sorry for David. Almost. Your new team assignments are being sent now. I announced as phones began buzzing around the room. If your name isn't on a team list, HR will be reaching out this afternoon. The meeting ended in controlled chaos. Some managers rushed out, presumably to update their resumes. Others lingered, trying to catch my eye, probably remembering every time they dismissed my input or talked over me in meetings. As the room cleared, Rod approached hesitantly. Ms. Mitchell. Thank you for mentioning me. Thank you for having the courage to speak up, I replied. How would you like to lead our new systems integrity team? His face lit up. Really? But I'm just a junior. Not anymore. I handed him a folder. Your new contract. I expect great things. After he left, Michael and Victoria remained. Impressive presentation, Victoria said, but you've made some powerful enemies today. I nodded. I know, but I've also empowered some powerful allies. People who do the real work, who see the real problems, and who deserve real recognition. Speaking of recognition, Michael added, Anderson's CEO called. He wants to meet. Apparently, his daughter is graduating with a computer science degree, and he'd like to discuss our new mentorship program. The one we don't have yet. I smiled. The one you're going to build, he corrected. Along with restructuring our management, revamping our systems, and whatever else you see fit to fix. Careful, I warned. I might just take you up on that. Victoria laughed. I'm counting on it. She headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Sarah? David's office has a nice view. It's yours if you want it. I thought about it for a moment. Actually, I think that space would work better as a collaborative workspace for the development team. I'll keep my current desk. Better to be in the thick of things. She nodded approvingly. Smart. Very smart. As they left, I stayed behind, looking out over the city through the conference room windows. 15 minutes until my next meeting, this time with HR to discuss the new organizational structure. My phone buzzed with messages from employees at all levels, some congratulating me, others nervously asking about their positions. I answered each one personally. After all, I remembered what it felt like to be ignored by management. That stopped today. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Jessica from accounting stood there, grinning. So, boss, ready to shake things up? I picked up my laptop, straightening my shoulders. You have no idea. Get the team together. We've got a company to rebuild. David's office was already being cleaned out. Through the glass walls, I could see him packing his things, the expensive Italian shoes scuffed from his frantic pacing. As I walked past, he looked up, finally understanding what I'd known all along. Real power isn't about corner offices or fancy titles. It's about doing the work that matters, building the right relationships, and playing the long game. And I was just getting started. 3 months after the meeting that changed everything, I stood in what used to be David's office, now a vibrant collaborative workspace filled with developers, analysts, and the constant hum of actual innovation. The Italian hardwood floors had been replaced with practical carpet that dampened sound. The pretentious chrome fixtures were gone, making way for comfortable workstations and digital displays, showing real-time project metrics. Ms. Mitchell? My assistant Jack appeared at my shoulder. Anderson Global's CEO is here for the quarterly review, and you might want to see this first. He handed me his tablet, open to a business news site. The headline made me smile. Meridian Technologies revolutionizes industry standards. Stock soars as competitors scramble to keep up. Below that was another headline, smaller but equally satisfying. Former Meridian manager David Morgan faces investigation over system cover-up. Conference room ready? I asked, handing back the tablet. Yes, but there's something else. Jack looked nervous. David's outside. Says he needs to talk to you before the meeting. Of course he was. I'd been wondering when this would happen. I found David in the reception area, his once immaculate appearance now slightly frayed. The Rolex was gone, replaced by something more modest. He stood when he saw me, smoothing his off-the-rack suit. Sarah, please. 5 minutes. I checked my watch. Genuine Cartier. A gift to myself after landing the Thompson Industries account last month. 3 minutes. He followed me to a small meeting room. Gone was the arrogant strut, replaced by an almost desperate energy. I've been trying to reach you, he began. My lawyers say, if you just explained to the board that I wasn't directly responsible for the system failures. Directly responsible? I interrupted. No, you just ignored 7 formal warnings, dismissed dozens of incident reports, and actively suppressed information that could have prevented the crisis. All while taking credit for other people's work and threatening anyone who challenged you. I was under pressure, he protested. The quarterly targets, the board's expectations. We were all under pressure, David. The difference is how we handled it. You chose to fake reports and bully subordinates. I chose to actually solve problems. He slumped in his chair. My reputation is ruined. No tech company will touch me now. Actions have consequences. I stood up. But since you came all this way, I'll give you some free advice. Start over. Learn to code. Build something real. That's what I did while you were busy playing politics. Is everything all right? Jack appeared at the door, right on schedule. Fine, I said. Mr. Morgan was just leaving. Oh, and David? The SEC investigators might have some questions about those altered quarterly reports. I'd suggest being honest this time. As security escorted him out, I headed to the main conference room where Anderson Global's executive team waited. But instead of going in, I stopped at Ra's desk first. Ready for your big moment? He adjusted his tie nervously. Are you sure about this? I mean, presenting to the CEO. You built the new security protocol. You should present it. I smiled. Remember what I told you about owning your success? He nodded, gathering his materials. No more hiding in the shadows. Exactly. The conference room had changed too. The imposing mahogany table had been replaced with a modular setup that encouraged collaboration. The walls displayed real-time system metrics, actual ones this time, not the filtered version David had preferred. Anderson's CEO, James Anderson himself, stood as we entered. Sarah. And this must be the famous Raj Patel I've heard so much about. Mr. Anderson. Raj shook his hand firmly. I'm excited to show you the new security features. And I'm excited to see them. By the way, Sarah, my daughter starts her internship next week. The mentorship program you've set up is exactly what she needs. I took my seat as Raj began his presentation. Watching him, confident and articulate, I felt a surge of pride. This was what real leadership looked like, not hoarding power, but nurturing it in others. The doors opened quietly, and Victoria Pierce slipped in with Michael Harrison. They just returned from a board meeting where, I knew, they'd finalized some major changes. Ra's presentation was flawless. When he finished, James Anderson was beaming. Impressive. Very impressive. In fact, he glanced at his team, who nodded. We'd like to discuss expanding our contract. Again, your new approach to system architecture is exactly what our international divisions need. Michael stepped forward. Actually, James, that ties in perfectly with our news. He nodded to Victoria. Sarah, she said, the board has unanimously voted to create a new position, Chief Innovation Officer. Your name was the only one considered. The room fell silent. Even I was surprised by this one. The title comes with a seat on the board, she continued, and complete autonomy to implement your management philosophy across all divisions. Interested? I looked around the room, at Raj, proudly standing by his presentation, at James Anderson, who trusted my vision when others doubted, at my team members watching through the glass walls, the ones who'd worked in the shadows with me all those months. On one condition, I said. The mentorship program becomes a full department. Every employee gets a chance to rise based on merit. not politics. And we create a fast track for identifying and promoting hidden talent. Done, Michael and Victoria said simultaneously. Later that evening, I walked through the office as the sun set over the city. The space hummed with energy. Developers collaborating on new projects, junior staff confidently presenting ideas, managers actually listening. Jessica appeared beside me. Hard to believe it's only been 3 months. Sometimes the biggest changes happen quietly, I replied. Speaking of changes, she handed me a folder. Remember that system analysis you asked for? Turns out 3 of our competitors are using the same flawed architecture David implemented here. Are they now? I smiled. How interesting. Get the team together tomorrow. I think it's time for Project Phoenix to spread its wings. Taking over the industry, she teased. No, I said, watching my team. My company, in action. Just making it better. One system at a time. My phone buzzed. A message from Victoria. Board meeting tomorrow. Time to shake up the industry. I typed back, count on it. As I headed to my modest but comfortable office, still my original desk, just with a better chair, I passed the wall where we'd hung our new company motto. Innovation happens in the shadows until it steps into the light. Below it, in smaller text, success isn't about who takes credit. It's about who does the work. David's expensive Italian shoes had left scuff marks on the floor that first day. We'd left them there, a subtle reminder of what happens when style matters more than substance. Now they were barely visible under the feet of people too busy doing real work to care about status symbols. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new projects, new opportunities to transform the industry. But tonight, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of possibility, I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, it's creating a legacy that makes success possible for others. And I was just getting started. Jack appeared one last time. Your car's ready. Though, are you sure you don't want to upgrade from the Honda? As CIO, you could afford something more. The Honda stays, I said firmly. It's got good mileage, runs perfectly, and never pretends to be something it's not. I picked up my bag. Besides, I'm saving my money for something better. The new Tech Academy? He guessed. I nodded. Next month, we'd open the Meridian Technology Academy, offering free coding boot camps to overlooked talent. The first class was already selected, including David's former assistant, who'd secretly been coding brilliant solutions while he took credit for others' work. Success, real success, isn't just about proving others wrong. It's about proving your believers right. And as I drove home in my reliable Honda, passing gleaming office towers and bustling tech startups, I smiled thinking about tomorrow's board meeting. Because while David had been focused on looking powerful, I'd been focused on becoming powerful. The difference? I planned to use that power to lift others up, not keep them down. After all, true innovation doesn't happen in corner offices with expensive shoes and fake reports. It happens in the quiet moments, in the late nights and early mornings, in the determination of people who choose to build rather than boast. And we were building something revolutionary.